Hello YouTube. This is Baylor Mage again, and we are bringing you the full guide for the Holy Relic of Conviction Necromancer. This might be the best minion build I've ever played. It's certainly the best minion build that's available right now this league. It might be the best one I've ever played. There are just so many good things about this build. For starters, the clear speed, way more amazing than any other minion build I've ever played. It's a one button playstyle with everything on the trigger, and all you do is attack, and it has full screen coverage, full screen clear. The single target and the clear setup are exactly the same, so there is no gem swaps. It can be started very cheaply. Right now, we're not doing this as a league start build guide, so I'm assuming that everyone rolling this is going to be re-rolling. Therefore, I'm going to assume you have a few divines to spend. So the guide is going to start with you having an uncorrupted 6-link Dialas and an uncorrupted helmet that's worth 5C, as well as a level 3 Empower and a level 3 Enhance, which are about 50 chaos each, and there are hundreds up. Those are the failed corruptions. That is the entire budget to start this build. Obviously, you can put as much as you want into it. We can spend tons, but it's pretty cheap to get started. If this build does not get nerfed, we will do a league start variant of this that has lower budgets, but for now, we're just going to assume everyone can afford to spend just a few divines getting moving. So, to go over it quickly, in the background, you can see some mapping that's going on. We also ran tier 17s. Those are very comfortable as well. Kills uber bosses, does wave 30 simulacrum, does all the map clearing content, does every strategy you can imagine. It's great at blight, it's great at breaches, it can do legions, it can do delirium, it can do harbingers, it can do essences, rogue exiles, doesn't matter. It can do everything. It can also do all map mods. It's the perfect build. So to quickly explain how it works before we get into the path of building, Summoned Holy Relic of Conviction, the alt quality one, gives you 2 Holy Relics to begin with instead of 1, plus the helmet giving you a 3rd one, so you end up with 3. But the biggest changes between it and its original quality is on the original quality one, it has a healing nova that's been removed. It's only damage now. And on the original quality one, whenever you hit with an attack, the Holy Relic does a nova around itself. With the alt quality that we're using, it does the nova on the closest mob, not on itself. So it doesn't matter where I hit or what I hit, the nova will happen on whatever's the closest mob to it at the time, which means it'll just cascade outwards as it kills everything. It is also very important to know Path of Building has absolutely no idea how much damage we're doing. We will have Path of Buildings that say 18 mil, and I guarantee you they're doing 45 to 50. We'll have Path of Buildings that say you're doing 9 million, and you're definitely doing 30. We'll have Path of Buildings that say you're doing 5 when you're definitely doing 25. I can't fix the Path of Building to make it say the correct numbers, but I promise you if you play it, it is so much higher than Path of Building thinks. The thought process here is that we believe the base numbers of Summon Holy Relic of Conviction are wrong in Path of Building. The base numbers that all the scaling comes off, wrong. So, there are some other important things about this build, but let's jump into the Path of Building because I would like to explain some things. There are some very important things about this build. So, here is our Path of Building, and for those wondering, we are also like 90% of the way through the written guide on PoE Vault, so that'll be linked in the description as well. We've got leveling setups and everything here as well. That'll be finished before we post this video, so both of them will launch together if you'd rather look at it in a written guide. But there are some real important things. Specifically, the most important thing is our breakdowns for cooldown reduction, which can only be gotten by qualitying the gem. Now, what this means is the maximum amount of times that each individual holy relic can cast their skill. Because what happens is they will cast it if it's off cooldown whenever you hit. Because we're using Lancing Steel of Spraying as our trigger, it is an attack that fires a bunch of projectiles over time that pierce all targets and then return to us. So there are a ton of attacks, just an absolute ton of attacks. We're always going to hit the trigger cooldown recovery rate for attacking. So we only have to worry about what is the cooldown recovery of our minion. We get extra attacks at 2, which would be 2 quality for the gem, 14 and 30, and then 52, 82, and 128. Now, 128 is technically possible. I don't believe it's worth the investment. I think 82 is perfect, and 52 is the minimum you should aim for. But this means that if you go from 52% cooldown recovery to 80% cooldown recovery, nothing happens. Your build does not get any better at all. If you go from 52 to 81, nothing happens. And as soon as you get the 82, that's when it goes from 5 attacks per second per minion to 6 attacks per second per minion. So it's just straight up 20% more damage and 20% more clear speed. There are quite a few ways to get quality on a gem. One way that we're definitely using, Diala's green socket, 30% quality. That's 30% quality plus the gem itself would be 50% already. That doesn't get you to 52. So you can't just have 20% quality in a green socket, not good enough. It would have to be a corrupted 23% quality and then put it in a green socket, and that would be good enough. Or you can take a Diala's, you can put it in the Holy Relic in a red socket for +2 levels. It's got 20% quality to begin with. And then you can put a level 3 enhance into a red socket so it becomes a level 5, and that adds 32% quality instead of 30% quality. And that hits you the 52 breakpoint. So very important when building this build. If you don't hit the 52, there's no point in being anywhere above 30, and it'll be actively worse. So we need to hit the 52, which means you either have a corrupted gem or you use an enhance. Enhance, if you hit a breakpoint, enhance will be your highest DPS support gem. If you don't hit a breakpoint by putting enhance in, it's worthless. The other thing we can do is use an ashes. So we have a bunch of different ways we can do this, and I have some different setups. So we have Dragon Fang with enhance and ashes without enhance. So both of those are options. So you can see when we go over to our skills in the ashes without enhance area, when we go over to Holy Relic, you can see it's got +60 on its cooldown. That gives it 83 this way, which is 1 more than what we need, but that's not a lot wasted. And this section doesn't use an enhance. So you'll have to use a combination of what you have available, whatever's cheapest at the time. Both Ashes and Dragon Fang end up basically the same. You can use either one. It's even the same plus levels, because if we're going to keep an Ashes instead of a Dragon Fang, we get +1 level instead of +3, but then it ends up in a red socket. Or you're going to have to use a combination of corrupting your gems, enhanced support, Diala sockets, and Ashes to hit one of these breakpoints. Again, 52 should be the minimum you aim for. I think 82 is the sweet spot. You can technically hit 128 with very, very high investment, but that's probably not something we should bother aiming for. Again, if you go from 82 to 127, nothing happens. Very important. So, in this path of building, we are still technically a poison build. I can't tell you how much damage we're doing. This says 9 million. In this setup right here, at least 35. At least 35 just from playing it. So can't tell you what it is. Ignore the DPS values in path of building. Just trust me, it will be way higher. So other important things is just we poison cap still from Ghastly Jewels, which means we're putting poison chance Ghastly Jewels in things. Just like we did with Poison SRS, just like we do with any Poison minion build. The difference is this is a full physical skill that's converted 100% to Chaos, so we can now use added Fizz just as easily as we can use added Cold. Also, for my variant of this build, we don't actually use a minion skill recently. So we actually don't want the if you've used a minion skill recently affix. Doesn't do anything. I don't use it. If you want to add another button to your build, you could pull Convocate out and use it on cooldown manually. Then you're pressing another button, then that affix would work. The build does so much damage, I don't care, and I'm not going to do that. So there's that. Defenses is just Aegis Aurora, just like always. The only difference is we're doing this the old school way, where you just have an amount of energy shield, in this instance 900 or so, above your life, and that gets topped off to full every single time you block. So it might not seem like a lot of energy shield, but it doesn't need to be a lot of energy shield. It just needs to be enough that every time you block, you get all of that back. So we block 75% of the time, 75% of the time we get all of that energy shield back, sits on top of our life. It's great. On top of that, you may notice something a little bit different here. The weapon is a very, very weird weapon. However, in my version, I got a synth implicit on a sword. These have to be either swords or axes. And we are going to go over how to make this real quick. Now, you don't need the synth implicit. The build does so much damage. The synth implicit is not that important. What's important is getting good attack speed. But at the time of recording, at least, there are still a whole bunch of synth implicits up for like 40 to 80 chaos. So I'm leaving it in so people know to look for it. But if it's not there, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. All we're going to do is take minion damage essences, put them on the fastest sword you can find until you hit attack speed, preferably tier 1 attack speed, annul it down, and then multi-mod hits can't be evaded triggered. Now, you can do that even cheaper because you only need one open suffix. For trigger, that's it. And all you have to do on the tree is take Resolute Technique, and that's the same as hits can't be evaded. It's one extra passive point, then you don't need to multi-mod things. So you can go that way to start with as well. I also want to quickly point out a lot of people have taken Spiritual Aid. I've seen that a lot going around. I don't believe you should do this. The only thing this will scale is the explosion from your Asenath's Gentle Touch. You don't need it, it's unnoticeable. But what it will do is it'll make you deal enough damage that you can't run reflect maps anymore. And if you do that, then you have to end up taking Ancestral Bond so that you stop yourself from doing damage with your own Lancing Steel. And that makes it so that you've wasted 2 passive points. We don't want that. So don't take those. In the path of building, we have some leveling trees. Obviously, you can level this any way you like. If you've got a way you like to level casters, if you want to level Ignite, you want to do whatever you want to speed it up, feel free. But we put in some leveling triggers that we used at different levels. I leveled this as Holy Relics the entire time. It is incredibly fun to play from level 4. You can see a whole bunch of different leveling setups and trigger setups and when we would change them. So they're all in there as well. If you're into minions, I can't suggest playing this enough. It has been the most fun minion build I've ever played. We have some leveling trees. This honestly plays basically exactly like Cast on Crit DD. It's just, you just run around and throw your attack and it just clears everything in all directions with no maximum range all at once. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, one thing left that I want to tell everyone because this is important. I intentionally got myself a decent but not great Elegant Hubris Timeless Jewel. Mine, the one in the build, the one that I'm using, has 2 minion damage nodes and that's it, and nothing else. I am using Supreme Ostentation. You absolutely don't need Supreme Ostentation. I was doing this because we were doing a lot of experimentation. You can see we already have all of the int and all of the strength we could ever need for anything, which means we are exactly 2 dex rolls on all of our gear away from not needing that. And if you take it off, you gain several hundred life and a few hundred ES as well. So it is probably not worth using Supreme Ostentation. I've been using it because I've been experimenting with a lot of different things and I didn't want to have to worry about stat requirements while I was doing all the experimenting. But I think solving your dex by getting just 2 good dex rolls on your gear, much better solution. So do that. Also, there is a website where you can get all of your timeless jewels, where you can look them all up, which I will link in the description as well. This is not the only location for a timeless jewel, and this is not the only timeless jewel you can use. So if you want Elegant Hubris, that's my go-to. You can put it here and look for those nodes or any 3-pointer nodes. 3-pointers are okay, 4 is not. So we would take this, that's 3. We would take this, that's 3. We would take that, we would take that. We would not take this because that's 4 points, not worth it. We wouldn't take this one because it's 4 points, not worth it. Anything 3 or less is fine. You can also put a timeless jewel here. Putting a timeless jewel here gives you access to all 3 of these nodes for 2 points, right? Access here for 3, access here for 3. You just skip out on this life wheel. You would access there for 2, access there for 2, there for 3, there for 3. Way more options over here. Down here can also change. Way more options over here. So do not copy my exact timeless jewel. I promise you, if you're not the first 14 people to watch this video, you will not be able to get my timeless jewel. Find your own timeless jewel and it can go in either of these locations. Right? Both of those locations are absolutely great. This is actually the better location because you have access to way more nodes. A timeless jewel is just more damage. It's not even that important. You can even go other ways and use other timeless jewels. There are plenty of other things we can do. There's a whole bunch of options. You could even just not have a timeless jewel. It is not that big of a deal. But important that you don't copy my exact one from my exact guide. That'll go through the roof. Absolutely not worth it. This jewel cost me 3 div and it's worth 3 to 5. It's an average jewel. Right? It's worth 3 to 5. When they're up for 20, do not buy them. Okay. Right. Otherwise, that is everything. Full written guide on the website, linked below. This is absolutely fantastic. I cannot suggest it enough. Please, if you've ever liked minions, play it. And also, if you've also liked the idea of minions, but every time you play minions, you're like, this just doesn't feel right. Well, this is the solution to that too. So come play the new King Minion build. This might be the best it ever is. Enjoy it while it lasts, and I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.